Your situation may seem impossible. Bills are stacking up, doors appear to be closing, and opportunities seem to be slipping away. But remember, your words are like seeds. Every seed holds a future harvest. When spoken with faith, words shift the atmosphere, move angels into action, and command blessings to find you. Throughout history, every miracle started with a word. Let there be light. God spoke, and light appeared. You were created in His image, which means your words also carry creative power. If God built the world through His words, then words are not just sounds that come from our mouths. They are containers of power, carriers of spiritual energy that shape reality. Every time we speak, something happens in the unseen world. Every word released in faith travels like a seed, looking for the right soil to take root and grow. The power of spoken faith is one of the greatest mysteries of spiritual life. Many people underestimate how much their words influence their finances, relationships, and emotions. The truth is both simple and powerful. What you continually confess, you will eventually possess. When you speak words full of belief, you are not just talking, you are joining forces with divine authority. Faith is never silent. It cannot stay unspoken and still be alive. It must be expressed. When you say, I will come out of debt, God will provide for me, or my breakthrough is on the way, you are activating divine laws that only respond to belief-filled declarations. There is a spiritual law that says you shall have whatever you say. This means that if your words agree with fear, you will attract what you fear. But if your words are filled with faith, gratitude, and trust in divine supply, you begin to attract abundance. Words set the direction of your destiny. Like the rudder of a ship steering through a storm, the power of your spoken faith can move your life toward blessing or lack. Many people unknowingly curse their finances by saying, I'm always broke, money never stays with me, or I can't afford that. These statements might sound harmless, but they plant seeds of limitation in your heart and mind. Your words are the blueprint your life follows. If you speak lack, your life will mirror it. If you speak abundance, divine power begins rearranging things to bring increase. The reason speaking in faith feels hard for many is because they speak from emotion instead of conviction. Feelings describe the problem, but faith declares the solution. Faith doesn't deny reality. It speaks a higher truth over it. A person of faith doesn't ignore their debts or worries, but chooses to say, God is my provider. Even when there's no visible evidence, those words open the door for divine help. Faith-filled words are like keys. They unlock doors that human effort cannot. When you start speaking what you believe, your thoughts begin to align, your emotions begin to change, and the spiritual realm responds to your confession. That is why faith must be spoken aloud. Thoughts are powerful, but spoken words multiply that power. Even creation itself began with spoken faith. The Creator looked into the void and said, let there be light, and there was light. He didn't just think light into existence, He spoke it. This is the example for our lives. We don't wait to see change before we speak to see change. Words are not only for communication, they are instruments of creation. Every breakthrough, miracle, and transformation begins with a spoken word of faith. Financial miracles follow the same law. When a person continually declares that divine supply is flowing to them, that doors are opening, that increase is on the way, something begins to shift. Faith builds momentum through repetition. Each time you make a declaration of faith, you strengthen a new reality in your spirit until it becomes visible in your life. You cannot speak defeat and expect victory. You cannot speak lack and expect prosperity. To experience financial transformation, your words must agree with the promise of abundance. When you choose to speak faith instead of fear, you are planting seeds of hope, power, and expectation. It may not happen instantly, but faith doesn't need visible proof to believe. It only needs a voice willing to declare, "My provision is coming." And as those words echo in faith, divine forces begin to move, shaping your situation according to your confession. These 4 words are not magical or superstitious. They are divine keys that unlock the flow of provision in your life. Many seek miracles without realizing that miracles come from spiritual principles put into motion through faith. When you speak faith-filled words, you are not performing a ritual. You are activating a divine system that responds only to belief. Heaven operates by the law of faith, and faith always speaks. The words you speak determine what gets activated in your life. Fear activates defeat. Faith activates blessing. When you speak these 4 words, you are not convincing God to act. You are allowing Him to release what He has already prepared for you. Divine activation begins when your spoken word meets unwavering faith. Every word of truth must be believed before it can release power. When you say, "God is my provider," or any phrase that shows your trust in divine supply, you are aligning yourself with heaven's order. Those words shift your focus from what you lack to the one who provides. Most people live as if their survival depends only on themselves, carrying burdens that were never meant to be carried alone. But when you speak faith-filled words, you hand your struggle to the one who owns all resources. The moment you do this, you form a spiritual connection that allows divine provision to start flowing toward you. Divine activation has nothing to do with performance or fancy speech. It's about authority. You were created with the authority to speak things into existence. When you speak these 4 words with conviction, you are using the authority placed in you to bring spiritual truths into physical reality. Heaven responds to faith, not fear, and faith is always heard through words. Angels move at the sound of your declaration. The entire divine system is voice activated. When you confess your faith, you breathe life into words that call forth blessings. Each time you repeat these words, you realign yourself with heaven's frequency. In the physical world, it may seem like nothing is changing. Your account may still look the same, the bills may still be there, but in the unseen realm, your declaration is already working. Doors start to open, new ideas come, people begin to show up. The invisible starts shaping the visible because your faith has given a command. That is divine activation. Your spoken faith becomes the switch that turns on divine flow. The power of activation also lies in persistence. One declaration may light the spark, but consistent confession keeps the flame burning. The more you speak these 4 words with confidence, the stronger your belief becomes, and the more open your heart is to divine supply. Words are like seeds. Some sprout quickly, others take time. But every seed of faith spoken will bear fruit when it comes from a believing heart. As you keep activating faith through your words, your mindset shifts from scarcity to sufficiency. You start seeing opportunities where others see obstacles because divine activation opens the eyes of your spirit. This also changes your emotions. Worry and fear lose their grip when faith takes over. Anxiety about money is replaced by peace because your focus moves from what you lack to who provides for you. Divine activation changes not just your finances, but your entire outlook on life. It gives you confidence that you are supported by something greater than yourself. The flow of provision can come in many ways: a promotion, a gift, a new idea, a creative door. But it always begins the moment you speak words of faith. Every faith-filled word you say is an act of trust. It's your way of telling heaven, I believe in unseen supply more than visible lack. That act of belief activates divine movement. God doesn't respond to panic, He responds to faith. When your words carry faith, they echo in the spiritual world and draw in the provision already set aside for you. The divine responds to your declaration of belief. The universe was created to respond to spoken faith, and when your words are filled with confidence, heaven cannot stay silent. That is why these 4 words hold great power. They are not meaningless sounds. They are divine keys that open doors to miracles. When spoken with complete trust, they awaken the unseen realm to move on your behalf. Before abundance shows up in your life, it must first exist in your mind and in your spirit. Every kind of prosperity begins as an idea, a belief, a quiet conviction that you are meant to live in divine supply. The thoughts you carry about money shape how you experience it. Many people pray for financial freedom but still live with a mindset of shortage. They constantly think they never have enough, that wealth is far away, or that blessings only happen for others. This kind of thinking blocks the flow of divine supply. The truth is, you can never receive something you secretly doubt you deserve. To truly experience abundance, the first change must take place inside you. Your thoughts must move from fear to faith, from lack to plenty, from worry to confidence. Your thoughts act like magnets. They draw people, situations, and results that match your inner beliefs. If your inner voice keeps saying, I never have enough, then even when blessings come, they will fade away because your mind is programmed for shortage. But when you start to think and believe, I live under divine provision, your life begins to follow that truth. This is not about pretending problems don't exist. It is about choosing to see beyond them and trusting that unseen abundance is always present. The spiritual law is simple. What you focus on expands. If you focus on what you lack, you'll experience more lack. But if you focus on divine supply, that supply will start to increase. Changing your mindset takes steady effort. You must renew your thoughts every day and guard them from negative voices. This change begins by aligning your thinking with the promises of provision, not with the limits of your current situation. Instead of saying, I can't afford this, start saying, the resources I need are on their way. Every time you replace fear with faith-filled words, you are training your mind for abundance. The world you see outside is only a reflection of what's happening inside. When your inner world changes, the outer one must follow. Having a mindset of abundance does not mean greed or obsession with money. It means living with the confidence that there will always be enough for you and for others. It is a heart posture that says, my source never runs out. When you carry this awareness, you stop competing, comparing, or fearing loss. You live with peace, knowing that divine provision isn't limited by jobs, economy, or circumstances. People who think abundantly naturally attract good things because they give off peace, confidence, and gratitude. Their belief creates an energy of expectation that draws blessings like a magnet. To build this way of thinking, you must face and replace limiting beliefs from your past. Many of us grew up hearing things like money is hard to earn, or we can't afford that, or rich people are selfish. Those words create invisible walls in your mind that keep abundance away. To break free, you must reprogram your thoughts with faith statements, gratitude, and imagination. Every time you declare divine supply, you are replacing old lies with truth. Gratitude plays a big part in this. When you thank God for what you have, even if it's little, you open the door for more. Gratitude multiplies blessings. Complaining pushes them away. You must also learn to see money as a servant, not a master. When you stop chasing it and start believing it will flow through divine channels, it begins to come naturally. Worrying about money stops creative ideas and blocks inner guidance. But peace and trust allow fresh ideas, opportunities, and wisdom to flow easily. Divine direction comes to a calm and trusting mind. The moment you stop fearing lack and start expecting increase, your behavior begins to change. You make wiser choices, take inspired steps, and meet the right people at the perfect time. Abundance always begins where belief begins. Your actions and words will follow your mindset. If you believe you are blessed, you will speak, plan, and act like someone who is. Faith and abundance thinking create unstoppable momentum. The change may not happen instantly, but every day you choose faith over fear, your inner world grows stronger and richer, and soon your outer world reflects that richness. The miracle of provision starts when your heart fully accepts that you are already connected to an endless source. Once this truth settles inside, financial breakthroughs stop being rare events and become normal results of your renewed mind. Every financial limitation first begins as a thought long before it appears in your life. Poverty is not just the absence of money. It's a way of thinking that shuts down divine flow. To experience true financial freedom, you must first destroy the inner walls built from fear, worry, and negative words. Your speech holds spiritual power. It can either create or destroy, bless, or block. Many people unknowingly trap their own prosperity by what they say about money, work, and opportunity. When you speak words of lack, you give them permission to shape your reality. But when you speak words of faith, you open the door for divine power to create new paths. Freedom from financial limitation begins with breaking harmful patterns of speech and thought. When you say things like, "I'll never get ahead," or "nothing works for me," those words don't just disappear. They sink into your subconscious mind and start shaping what you believe and how you act. With time, they become self-fulfilling prophecies. You begin to act in ways that match them, expecting disappointment instead of favor. The spiritual world works by agreement. Whatever you agree with through your words becomes real in your life. If you agree with lack, lack will grow. But if you agree with abundance, abundance will find you. Your words are the bridge between faith and manifestation. When you speak, you're either building that bridge or breaking it down. Breaking limitation means using your words as tools of freedom. Every faith-filled declaration is like a hammer that smashes the walls of small thinking. When you begin to say, "I live in divine supply, opportunities are chasing me, my resources are growing," you are changing the atmosphere around you. These words don't ignore reality, they reshape it. Faith doesn't pretend problems don't exist. It declares a higher truth above them. Words of faith plant seeds that later grow into a harvest of increase. At first, it may feel uncomfortable to speak words that don't yet match what you see. But that's how faith operates. You speak the promise, not the problem. You speak what you want to see until it becomes visible. A big part of breaking financial limitation is changing how you see yourself. If you keep seeing yourself as poor, forgotten, or unworthy, your actions will follow that image. But when you see yourself as favored, supported, and already provided for, your spirit rises above limitation. Your words are key to building that new image. Every time you say, "I am supplied, I am blessed," you are not just describing your life, you are defining who you are. Your identity draws your experiences. When you identify as someone who lives under divine provision, you naturally attract provision. The spiritual law of attraction answers to your inner picture and your spoken agreement. You must also be careful about the company you keep. Negative words from others can weaken your faith if you let them sink in. Stay close to people who speak life and hope. The voices you hear, the content you consume, and the thoughts you feed all shape your financial reality. If you keep listening to negativity, your faith will fade. But if you fill your heart with truth and speak positive words, your spirit will grow strong and divine flow will increase. Speak words of abundance even when you are in lack, because faith must be planted before the harvest arrives. Every time you speak words of faith, something changes in the unseen world. You might not see it instantly, but invisible forces start rearranging things in your favor. That's why you must stay consistent. Repetition turns declarations into transformation. The more you speak abundance, the more naturally you begin to think and act abundantly. Breaking financial limitation isn't about working harder, it's about believing higher. Once you stop using your mouth to describe lack and start using There are powerful spiritual principles that guide the movement of blessings and abundance. Whatever a person deeply expects within their heart eventually shows up in their life. Expectation is more than just hope or wishing. It is a deep inner confidence that something good is on the way. It serves as the bridge between faith and what becomes real. Many people pray earnestly for financial breakthroughs, yet quietly expect disappointment. And because their inner expectation does not match their prayer, nothing shifts. Expectation works like an unseen magnet that draws either blessing or lack. When you expect increase, you make space for it. When you expect loss, you prepare for it without realizing. This divine law functions whether you believe it or not, for it is grounded in spiritual order. Faith and expectation are inseparable. Faith believes that something can happen. Expectation confidently waits for it to appear. It is the attitude of a person who knows that their source is trustworthy. Expectation gives faith direction and focus. Without it, faith becomes uncertain and inactive. When you truly expect divine supply, you begin to think, speak, and act as if it is already on its way. You stop worrying about how and start preparing for when. Expectation reshapes how you handle your money, your choices, and your view of the future. It replaces anxiety with anticipation. That inner shift is what unlocks the doorway to miracles. Expectation is a spiritual position that shows heaven you are ready. When you expect abundance, you align your inner life with divine timing. You start noticing signs and opportunities that you might have missed before. Expectation sharpens your spiritual awareness. It moves you from waiting passively to acting with confidence. A person who expects a financial miracle begins to plan for it, talk about it, and prepare for it. This readiness becomes a message to the universe that you are serious about receiving. Divine power responds to a prepared heart. But when you expect failure or lack, your mind becomes blind to possibilities. You start attracting situations that match your fears. Expectation carries creative energy. It shapes your experiences according to what you believe inside. If you expect the worst, you draw more of it. If you expect the best, you create an atmosphere where the best can appear. That is why two people can face the same problem, yet one sees no way forward, while the other sees opportunity, and their results are completely different. The difference lies in their expectation. To activate the power of expectation, your words must agree with your beliefs. You cannot expect abundance while constantly speaking about shortage. Every word you speak either builds or weakens your expectation. When your speech and your heart are in agreement, spiritual power is released. Saying with confidence, "I know provision is coming," while feeling thankful, creates a strong vibration of faith that heaven responds to. But saying, "I hope something happens," from a place of fear shuts the flow. True expectation must come from conviction, not desperation. Desperation cries out from fear. Expectation speaks calmly from peace. Expectation also influences your emotions. People who live with high expectation carry joy, calm, and quiet confidence. They do not let circumstances decide their peace because they know the current moment is not the whole story. They keep their eyes ahead, believing something better is forming. This inner strength attracts favor, ideas, and divine connections. Joyful expectation brings quicker solutions than fearful effort ever could. When you expect miracles, you start noticing them even in the small things, a sudden chance, unexpected help, or a fresh idea that changes your direction. Keeping expectation alive requires patience and steadiness. There will be times when it looks like nothing is moving, but real expectation does not fade over time. It becomes stronger the longer it waits, because it is rooted in trust, not visible proof. Each time you speak words of faith and hold to your expectation, you are watering the seed of your miracle. You may not see growth yet, but something is happening under the surface. The atmosphere around you is adjusting to your belief. Living under this law of expectation means waking up each morning with quiet assurance that supply is already moving toward you. It means walking through hard times, knowing they are only temporary steps toward breakthrough. It means thanking God before seeing results because your heart knows He is faithful. Expectation keeps your hope alive, your words consistent, and your faith strong. The moment your expectation matches your faith, manifestation becomes certain. Every great miracle begins in the soil of expectation, and those who live in that atmosphere never run dry. Partnership with the divine is realizing that you are never walking through life or facing challenges alone. It is the understanding that the Creator of the universe desires to work with you and through you to accomplish your purpose and supply your needs. Divine partnership is not about asking for help once in a while. It is living in ongoing cooperation with a higher power who already knows the path even when you cannot see it. When you speak faith-filled words like, "God is my provider," you are inviting heaven to take part in every financial choice, every opportunity, and every uncertain moment. This partnership changes your relationship with money and work from stress and struggle into peace and flow. In this partnership, your role is to believe and obey, while the divine role is to guide and provide. You are not responsible for making everything happen on your own. Your part is to trust, to act when guided, and to stay aligned in faith. The more you try to handle everything alone, the heavier life feels because self-reliance blocks divine help. But when you release control and admit that you are cooperating with divine wisdom, a higher alignment begins to unfold. Doors open that were once closed, the right people appear with the answers you need, new thoughts and creative ideas surface that you could not have imagined by yourself. Partnership with the divine also changes how you see work and money. You stop viewing them as burdens and start recognizing them as channels through which blessings flow. Your job, your business, or your skills become tools, not the ultimate source. When you confuse the tool for the source, you live in fear, believing that if the job ends, your supply ends too. But once you know your true source is divine and unlimited, peace fills your heart. If one channel closes, another will surely open because your partnership remains intact. This truth brings balance and steadiness to your financial life, anchoring your confidence in something unshakable. When you operate as a partner with God, every decision becomes meaningful. You do not move out of fear, but out of calm direction. You listen before you act and respond when you feel prompted inside. Many people miss divine provision because they rush to act without waiting for guidance. Partnership requires steady communication. You talk, you listen, you pause, and you follow the nudge of peace within. When you live this way, you no longer chase blessings. Blessings begin to chase you. You stop striving to make everything work and start flowing with divine rhythm. You notice how guidance comes naturally through a thought, a conversation, or an inner knowing that leads you at the right time. Trust grows each time you obey that quiet inner voice. And soon you find yourself walking in alignment with divine timing, where provision meets purpose and everything you need shows up when it's needed most. Partnership and expectation together create a powerful spiritual force. Expectation sets the atmosphere. Partnership opens the channel. One without the other leaves imbalance. Expectation without partnership can lead to frustration, while partnership without expectation can lead to stagnation. But when both unite, you live in divine flow, believing, expecting, and cooperating with heaven's order. You stop living from fear of lack and start walking in assurance of endless supply. Your heart becomes peaceful, your words become powerful, and your actions become guided. This is the life of spiritual abundance, not one of striving or begging, but of trust, alignment, and readiness. When you believe deeply, expect confidently, and act faithfully, you live under the law of divine partnership and expectation. You become a vessel through which blessings continually move. The more you give thanks, the more you see increase. The more you trust, the more you witness miracles unfold in ordinary days. Every moment becomes sacred because you understand that divine presence walks beside you. You may not control every situation, but you can control what you expect. You can choose to live from peace instead of worry. You can look at challenges as steps, not setbacks. The divine is always working behind the scenes, arranging details beyond your sight. When you stay in faith and expectation, you stay connected to that flow. Even when life seems quiet, your belief keeps energy moving toward your promise. In time, what you once hoped for begins to appear, not by chance, but by spiritual law. Expectation prepares the space. Partnership fills it. Together, they turn ordinary life into a journey of grace and miracles. And you follow. The gentle voice within that urges you toward honesty, wisdom, and careful stewardship is often the whisper of divine guidance, leading you step by step into greater abundance. Sometimes that voice tells you to give even when it makes no sense. Yet that act of giving becomes the seed that grows into a miracle later on. Other times it quietly instructs you to wait, to rest, or to prepare. And when you obey those small directions, the flow of blessing remains open and unhindered. Another important part of this divine partnership is learning to trust during the silent seasons. There will be moments when nothing seems to move, when heaven feels still, and when the answer you are waiting for appears delayed. But true partnership isn't built on constant signs or evidence. It's built on steady faith. Just because you do not see something happening doesn't mean your divine partner is inactive. Divine timing is perfect. What you call delay is often preparation. Waiting develops trust and deepens your awareness of divine faithfulness. When you hold your confidence firm during these quiet times, you prove your loyalty to the partnership. And before long, the evidence of provision begins to show. Partnership with the divine also calls for integrity and gratitude. You cannot expect a steady flow of blessing while living in dishonesty or ungratefulness. Integrity keeps your heart clean and your hands open. Gratitude keeps your spirit in harmony with abundance. Every time you pause to thank the source for what you already have, you acknowledge your partnership and make room for more. Gratitude is the voice of faith. It sustains an atmosphere where miracles can grow freely. The beauty of this sacred partnership is that it doesn't depend on your perfection. It depends on your willingness. The divine doesn't ask for flawless performance, only sincere belief. When you speak words that honor this relationship, when you declare that your Strength, wisdom, and provision come from above. You stay connected to the power that multiplies everything you touch. Your confidence expands, your creativity blossoms, and your steps are directed by divine intelligence. To live in partnership with the divine is to walk with quiet assurance that you are never limited by what you see. It is to understand that every idea, every opportunity, every blessing is divinely arranged. It is the art of living in rhythm with heaven's plan, working faithfully with your hands while trusting completely with your heart. When you fully embrace this partnership, your finances stop being a burden and start becoming a testimony of what happens when humanity and divinity work together in perfect agreement. Gratitude is a spiritual power that multiplies everything it touches. It's not just a polite reaction to good moments. It's a divine mindset that opens the gates of heaven and keeps the flow of blessings constant. A heart filled with thankfulness attracts more to be thankful. For while a heart full of complaints pushes away what it longs for, the spiritual climate of gratitude is the soil where financial miracles grow. When you begin to thank God not only for what you can see, but also for what you believe is coming, you show faith, and faith always releases provision. Gratitude is faith made visible. It's the living proof that you trust divine supply even before the blessing appears. When you say words like, "Thank you, Lord, for my provision," or "I'm grateful for the abundance that's on its way," you're not just speaking positive affirmations. You are activating a spiritual law that shapes your reality. The moment gratitude leaves your lips, your focus shifts. Instead of seeing what's missing, you start seeing what's present. That shift brings your heart and mind into alignment with abundance. You start to feel rich before the money arrives. You begin to feel calm before the problem is solved. You sense security even before the answer is visible. This is the place where miracles are born, because gratitude and lack cannot exist in the same space. When gratitude fills your heart, scarcity loses its voice. Many people stay stuck in financial struggle, not because resources are missing, but because their minds are trained to notice what's wrong instead of what's right. Complaining shuts the door to blessing. Every complaint you make sends a message of scarcity to the universe, declaring that you are not ready for more. Gratitude, on the other hand, sends out a message of trust. It says you believe in divine timing, that you recognize provision in every form, large or small, even in seasons of tightness. A grateful person can say, "I may not have all I desire, but I thank God for what I have." That heart posture becomes a magnet for increase. Gratitude transforms not enough into more than enough, because appreciation multiplies manifestation. Gratitude not only changes your spiritual life, it deeply affects your emotions and your mind. It replaces anxiety with calm, fear with faith, and hopelessness with assurance. When you make it a habit to thank God daily, even for the smallest things, your thoughts begin to expect good instead of bad. An expectation attracts good things. Gratitude clears away the fog of negativity, making space for creative ideas and divine inspiration to flow freely. People who live in gratitude tend to notice opportunities others miss because their hearts remain open. Gratitude sharpens your spiritual vision, helping you recognize doors